Yeah, I will.
First slide.
Start with you. Okay. Okay, Arun. We are live now. So, hello, good evening, everyone. I am Dhruti Sharma, and I would like to introduce Arun Thukral. I mean, there's no introduction needed, of course. He is the founder and CEO at HCL, and he will be speaking about how corporate can benefit from Talent Development Center. So, before we move ahead, uh, there's a lot of confusion between talent development center and talent assessment center. So Arun, would you please start with explaining what is the difference, what exactly is talent assessment center?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Dhruti. And I think first thing that I must say that for conceptualizing and bringing this program live with the audience, because in the last couple of years, there has been a lot of talk about talent development, talent assessments, but there is always some kind of confusions that what is assessment, what is development. And I'm sure every organization today is talking about retaining talent, developing talent. And post-COVID, this has definitely become the need of the hour because nobody wants to lose the talent and everybody wants to attract the talent. So let's first understand that what is talent development and talent assessment. I'm sure like any organization, everybody wants to have the best talent on their side because they know that is going to be the defining moment for that organization. Now, once they get the talent, the second important thing is how they are developing the talent, how they are retaining the talent, how they are engaging the talent. Because if that talent leaves the organization, let's say within a span of 1 year or 2 years, the organizations are at a great loss because by the time the organization would have taken the benefit of that individual, the investments that they have made, the talent has already slipped out because some company somewhere is trying to take that talent away. So it's very, very important that every organization, first of all, has to look at talent engagement, that how you are engaging that talent, not only for the benefit of the organization, but for the talent itself. Now, we are using two terms, talent development and talent assessment interchangeably. So in simple words, talent development is something that you are creating some engagement programs, understanding where your talent is, what kind of interventions it requires over the years, and what kind of activities, whether it is training, coaching, developmental areas which have been identified, can help the talent to get developed and nourish and contribute to the organization and ultimately become a part of the succession planning at different roles at different times. Whereas when it comes to talent assessment, let's say it's a very healthy sign that you have got 5 people or 10 people who are highly talented now because they were engaged well, they were developed well, they were nurtured well. Now the time is the organization has a plan to promote somebody, or there is some plan for that in the organization to take that person, one person, to the next level. But let's say it's a very healthy sign. You have got 5, 7, 10 people of almost equal caliber. Now, how do you choose who is the right person for that? Now, this is where you require a talent assessment process where you get the right talent for the right position so that there is no biasness. People are clear that, okay, there is a set process. There were certain competencies that they had to work on, and then the right person. So talent development is more about engagement. Talent assessment is about taking them to the next level where they are going to fit.
Okay. So are there any common methods or tools that we use particularly in talent development?
Yeah, so see, I would say right from the time that a talent is hired, organization uses various tools. One of the most common tool is interview. And I think that is something that is traditionally used, and even today that works well. But as we see that there is a complexity in the environment today with a lot of machine learnings, which a lot of business intelligence and a lot of information flow which is happening, people come very well prepared with the right answers.
Yeah.
Right? They know what is going to be asked and what is going to happen in the process. And you will see some people are really smart and they're able to crack the process. But then they struggle because if they are really not talented, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
So I want to give an example. There was one internal job posting in the organization about a role that was announced, and the people who applied, there were certain criteria they had to apply. Of course, people who had high performance were the first that qualified, and the second criteria was some parameters that was required that they qualify for that non-sales parameter or non-direct parameters. Now, what happened? That company had only employed the interview process where they just spoke to the candidate. And since it was an internal model, so everybody knew who is going to get promoted. And the people who were not promoted, they had a lot of issues. We always, and the comments were like, we always knew this guy is going to get promoted. We knew that he was close to the boss. Well, in today's world, as I said, the complexities are increasing. There are different tools that are now getting played, and a lot of organizations are adopting those tools. Number one is, which is becoming a very important tool, that is psychometric assessment test, which is taken care by either SHL, Thomas, and many more other companies which are providing that, and they're very sharp tools. If they do not give the right exact thing, they definitely give it direction. Okay. So that's the first tool that organizations can use. The second tool, now depending on the role and the organization systems, they can also put like business case studies. They can also put role plays. They can also put group discussions. They can also put a lot of business games. So everything has to be customized based on the assessment, whether it is at a beginner's level, whether it is at a middle level, or whether it is a higher level. But one thing is there, if traditionally we go only by the interview and going by the perception of the individual, it's not going to. It's failing. It's failing organization. It's failing people very badly.
Okay. So, what do you think? What are the key benefits that corporates can leverage from talent development centers? I mean, of course, the interview process is failing. They cannot really do something within their organization because there is, of course, this constant bias in the minds of employees. So, what do you think are benefits of sort of outsourcing talent development centers, and how can it help the employees within the organization?
So in your question, I got the first answer itself. As you said that internally there is a biasness. Yes, there is a biasness, no matter. See, organizations have created a lot of models. They say that they have mentors inside the organization with other functions taking as a mentor. But we all know in practice, the spirit is there, but in reality, there is always a gap. Because if I'm your boss, eventually in the end, I'm going to evaluate you on many things.
Yeah.
And that's where, the spirit of biasness is a trouble. So of course, one of the best method is you bring an external assessor or the team of assessors from different places. You bring them under this and you allow your people to get evaluated. So that is where the biasness issues can come down. The second thing that you have highlighted about is what are the benefits. So I think there is a lot of benefit. Let's say if I'm working in an organization, my goal is that how do I progress? Why I'm working in an organization? I'm working not just for money. I'm also looking at my development as a professional, as a leader, how I can contribute more, how I can take more responsibilities, and obviously how I can earn more money, more recognition and more respect in my life. How will that happen? It will simply happen once I know that an organization has set up a system and what is the progressive steps to reach that system. And once I'm clear about what are the progressive steps like assessment centers, development centers, not only it helps me as an employee that what all I need to do to be reaching that spot that I have decided in that organization. But imagine if this structure is not in place.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Nobody knows where people are going. Nobody knows that whether I'll be promoted, whether I will be getting the right guidance in the coming years, or whether just because somebody is close to someone on the top will be picked up for that role, or someone who is close outside. Let's say I joined an organization and now I'm trying to bring my own people into the system from outside. So people inside will always think that, what's in it for me being here? So this will just kill the system. So very important, if a process is in place, like what I said, there's a clear directional process is in place. People know what is expected out of me. People know what all I need to be prepared for. It's not just the performance that I bring on the table is going to define my career path. It's everything put together will decide my potential to reach that spot.
Okay, all right. So, Arun, can you explain the method through which this development center works? I mean, what is the process? Can you give a little brief about it?
Yeah, sure. So when we pick up the assessment centers or the development center with an organization, we first understand what is their problem, what exactly they want to achieve. So generally they say that they want to assess what is the competency level of the employees that are working in a particular function or in the organization. And why it is important for them? Because if an employee is highly competent, it is directly proportional to the productivity and the profitability of the organization.
Correct.
So look at it reverse. If the productivity and profitability is down, that means your competency levels of your individuals are also down.
Yeah.
Now, in very simple terms, we first sit with the organization, HR or the country head. We sit together, we understand what is the problem statement they have. Then we understand what are the competencies they want to evaluate in the people, because the competencies can vary from a person at a very junior level, mid-level, and senior level. Though the competency will remain same. Let's say communication will not change, but it varies the degree where the expectation from a top leader, from a beginner will be different. So we first define what are the predefined competencies. Then we define that what are the tools which I just mentioned a while ago. What are the test assessment tools that we are going to use? And then basis that we conceptualize the whole assessment or a development center for a period of 2 to 3 days, which includes a psychometric assessment test. Then what we do is we, according to the competencies, we define the case studies, business case, and many other tools that comes into the play. And then we run the assessment center. And basis that we generate a report. Now this report is absolutely most likely unbiased, because one of the very critical thing that happens in this process when we do the assessment center, let's say you are one of the participants and there are 5 activities. I cannot evaluate you in more than 2 activities. And the simple reason is if I evaluate you on the 3rd or the 4th, I'll become biased. If you're not good, I'll say you're not good. So I'll start giving you ranking accordingly. So after 2 episodes, you will be evaluated by someone else and then someone else. So what happens then? We collate the scores. So we bring and we support and challenge each other that why we have given high or low scores to to that individual in that activity, because everybody observes in the room. And then we agree on, and then all these things are documented. They are notes. So tomorrow, let's say you are rated low on communication and you say, no, my boss tells me, my organization tells me. But you did not reflect it that. It's a micro lab where we are trying to assess this. Okay. So this is the way we do it.
So basically, it eliminates all the potential subconscious bias that comes even within the assessment, the development center.
Correct. It brings more trust in the people as they understand what the process is through. And they know that, and sometimes they get an eye opener. Oh, wow, I never knew I was so good at this. So it's like the unconscious competence starts becoming conscious competence.
Correct.
If you don't know driving, you don't know driving, So you will always be very conscious. Where's the brake? Where's the clutch? And in the beginner, you do like, but the moment you become conscious, you start changing your gaze without any even thinking. You're looking somewhere else and then you're doing. So it's like from unconscious to conscious competence. This helps. These are the things that brings this development in.
So can you share maybe some real life example, some real life case study that maybe HCN has done to sort of within the development center, if there is?
Okay, great. So first thing I want to say that we don't have long case studies or maybe many case studies. Yeah, we do work with some selected clients. We also pick the clients accordingly, whether they believe in that or not, or it is just for the eye wash they are doing. When we work with them, it means that they believe in the process. And we have seen in one of the examples that how the leader decided that they need an assessment center because the organization was growing. And the expectation from the employees or the leadership was, a point came, what's in it for me now? I have contributed to the growth of the organization. So money is not just motivating me enough. What's in it for me now? Now, as I said, that's a very good sign that you have developed the team so well with 5 to 10 immediate reportees, where you see that everyone is asking for more. So it's a healthy sign. But at the same time, this also brings a second flip side of the coin, that this also demands a problem that how will I manage the expectation of everyone? That was the time we were called in, and we sat together and we worked together on that plan. And after the assessment center was done, the reports were generated. Every report was explained in detail to the individuals. Then we worked on their IDPs, individual development plans, and this was watched for 6 months. We gave the hand-holding for 6 months, that how the progress is happening, and wherever our intervention was required, it was done. And the outcome was that 2 of them got promoted to the next level. 2 of them did not do anything. Not everybody changes, that's okay. And 2 of them are into some big projects now. And I very clearly see that they have an opportunity to grow further in their careers. So that's how, as I said, it also brings a lot of engagement in the employees, that my organization is really doing something. Because see, after a level, money doesn't motivate you.
Yeah.
Money does motivate all of us, but at certain point, you need to look beyond you. When you start looking beyond money, that's where your inner voice tells what all I need to do, what all am I capable of. And then if an organization sets the path, you see an introspection. A lot of people say, the next level is not for me. I'm happy with what I'm doing. And that's absolutely fine. It's important is self-awareness and realization that comes in the person. You can see that how an employee can contribute 10x. No matter you take them to a trip to any global, country today as an incentive trip, you can set up them for some high incentives that will go away after some time. You will forget after 2 months. But if you're engaged, you will not just engage for 2 months. You'll be engaged lifetime if you understand the basis of this. That's the beauty of this development center.
So while we are at it, have you personally or maybe faced any challenges or you think that there are certain potential pitfalls if if you introduce development centers and organizations, and if there is, how can that be addressed?
So when I was getting certified, our trainer said something which I echo very highly. The trainer said that, when you will go back and you will talk to the organization, so obviously you will be talking to the CHRO or the CEO about this. And who is the first person or who is the first level of people who will shy off in doing the assessment center? And we were all curious who. And it's the leadership team itself. They don't want to come, but they want their juniors to undergo a assessment center. And why they are not interested or why they are not coming forward? Because they have a fear that they will get exposed. So what kind of leaders they are? If they talk, they are leader only by their designation and the visiting card they are holding, the organization has to look at it. So this is one of the biggest obstacles when I talk to some companies and clients. Why don't you do it for your own leadership team? Because that's where you lead from the front. That's what you teach. That's what you practice and preach. And that's what said, no, we'll do it for the middle management, and then we'll do it for the lower management. So this is one of the biggest challenge and the barrier for the assessment center to be successful.
So how do you think, where will it change? How does it change? How can we address it? Is there a solution to that?
See, the solution is again in the hand of the creators. I very clearly see if the top leader is the one who has to take the shot, number one. Because if he's not taking the shot, then he's also shying away from addressing things directly. After all, his own vision and goal is who is going to replace me in the next 2 to 3 years. And if that CEO or that top leader is not thinking like that, then there is something seriously wrong with that organization. Because the primary role of the leader is to create more leaders. It is not that I remain the leader, but nobody will move. That is not going to happen. And if you are in an organization like this, I'm sure if anybody who is listening this, they will realize that the toxicity and suffocation in that organization must be growing 10x. So the first thing is, it's the leader, the top leader, he or she has to take a call that this is very, very important, urgent, and is the need of the hour. If that starts to take place, I'm sure that will first address the issue. Now, at HCN, what we have also done is we are likely to take one initiative. We have already taken an initiative, and very soon we are going to make it public that we are going to run an open assessment center. Because there is another factor that plays is sometimes the cost and the time. Because, of course, engaging the leaders at that level, though it's for 2 or 3 days, but it's a long engagement. So the companies feel, or the organizations feel that, this will be a lot of time consuming. And obviously the cost. To some extent, it's true. But I always challenge that back. If cost is one of the concern, what are they thinking about? Imagine what kind of benefits they are going to reap, and this current productivity, if it is going to enhance even by 1x or 2x or 3x, your cost is looking so meager. And the time that you are investing on this is something that is going to pay on a long term. But we always see cost or the productivity in terms of the numbers the organization is getting, right? So we are planning to do an open assessment center. We are encouraging the corporates, the leaders, that if they find some of their talent needs to get exposed, we are going to run it as an open assessment center where they can sponsor 1 or 2 of their senior leaders who can come, experience what we are doing, and go back and show a report, how it really benefited me, how I'm getting benchmark against other leaders in the same industry or in the other industries. So we are going to work on our first batch of 12 to 14 people where we are going to do this. So that's one way that we are trying our effort to create some awareness by this.
That's a great initiative. And I would really love to hear from the expert panelists who are going to be part of this open assessment center. So maybe we can have a webinar with them as well.
Yeah, for sure. We have a team. We have our empaneled assessors. We are already in touch for the last, I would say, a month. We have already deliberated on certain areas that how we are going to run it. So, in all likelihood, let's say you host all three of us and we talk more, we create more noise.
Absolutely. So before closing this webinar for the day, I had just one last question around Talent Development Center itself. Um, is there a way to measure the effectiveness of these centers, these initiatives that we are doing? And what is the strategy behind it? How are we continually, sort of improving the process of these centers?
I think that's a very good question, because why I said very good question, because recently I was talking to a leader and and we were about to interview somebody as a part of our assessment center. And that person said that, it's very difficult to measure the competencies because they are intangible. So if I have to say, okay, out of 5, you are 3 or 4 on communication, how will I say that? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's intent. So that person was very right. So how do we bring the effectiveness of an assessment center? So the first method is, while we conduct the assessment center itself, we bring the objectivity. We measure it with scores, and not just by one method, but multiple methods. There are certain methods that we apply. So that brings a very clear scoring pattern that tells us that on a scale of 1 to 10, where you are on which competency. That is number one. Now, let's say your report is out and we are clear that, let's say there are 2 areas where you need to work on. That is, let's say decision making or problem solving is one of the areas that you are not very good at. And let's say you are good at entrepreneurial skill or communication or team building. Now, how do we measure the success? Now, again, this is a very crucial part. If we leave the assessment center there, then it is of no use. Then again, it's an eyewash activity.
Yeah.
Now, from there, when we set up the IDP, which is individual developmental plan, and we put it like quarter by quarter objectives, let's say for 2 quarters. If you have to be good in decision making, or if you have to be good in communication, what are the actions the organization is ensuring and giving the liberty to you as an individual to start doing? Let's say, for example, decision making. And you know that in an assessment center, there are 3 or 4 people who have this challenge right now. Their competency is underdeveloped. Very simple. I need to bring them in certain strategy meets as a part of that think tank, where they can learn that how leaders are taking decisions. I can also put that person as in charge of that particular area or that particular department in terms of his mentorship, that every decision that will go now will pass through him, and he has to follow certain process on decision making in terms of building the pros and cons and then arriving at a decision. We are not talking about normal decisions. We are talking about some big decisions, some budget investments, some pulling out budgets, some people related issues. So these are the ways when these are documented and these are reviewed on a periodicity of 1 month or 15 days, there is a sense of development that starts to happen. So ideally, if you ask me, after 6 months or maybe a year of this intervention, we should run another assessment center. And then you should score. And I'm sure if that person has worked really well, the scores will start changing and reflecting on the person itself. So that's, see, the process is very well defined. Now the question is how much an organization, the HR and the organization has a vision to develop people from inside. Otherwise, they will continue to hire people from outside. They will continue to poach talent from outside. And they feel very happy about it that, yes, I paid a good amount. I paid the notice salary. I got this talent on my seat, on my side. But what have you done after that? And let me another, because there's something that came out and I want to highlight. A lot of companies these days are leveraging on the Coursera's, the online educational tools. And they say that, okay, we have assigned some people on this and the trainings are fantastic. Yes, they are fantastic. But how are you measuring that fantasticism is being implemented and has been practiced in past? So I may read 100 books of leadership. I may attend so many programs on leadership. My real proof is whether I'm shifting my levels by really practicing it. And that is observed by stakeholders and say, wow, Arun, after attending so many events and so many courses, I can see a drastic change, which is missing, which is greatly missing. That's another challenge.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Arun. It was really insightful. Do you have any closing statements for our audience?
My closing statement is very simple. If you are right now a leader, if you are an employee and you are working at any position right now, I would highly encourage, if you are serious about your career, don't just sit and think that, okay, I'm doing a great job and I'm definitely going to get moving up in my career. No, it will not. I can tell you. So you need to go and sit with your line manager, go and sit with your HR, go and sit with your CEO and say that, okay, this is what I want to see myself in 3 to 5 years' time. Tell me, what are you going to do for me so that I can be a contributory employee to this organization and I can bring more productivity. And if you are not doing, and you think that my performance, I'm earning incentives, promotion तो मेरा हो ही जाएगा, या मुझे कोई और company ले लेगी. Of course, ले लेगी, but how you are growing, because I remember one quote, somebody said, I've got 20 years of experience. And if you have repeated the first year of experience every year, that means you are only 1 year old. So how you are building yourself every year by taking new challenges. And the second audience, which is listening, if they are listening, if you are a CEO or if you are a CHRO, I'm sure you have a lot of good plans for the organization. I am sure you also have very good plans about your own self, because you don't want to remain in this role for a longer period of time. You also want to grow. So what are you doing to invest on your people? Are you really developing them? Are you really building them? If yes, great. If no, then maybe you should sit and think again, where do you want to take it? And there are various options available.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you for the webinar, being a part of it. I would also like to thank the entire audience. If they are listening to us, thank you for being a part of this as well. And before we close the session, I would just like to tell you all to reach out to us if you have any queries, any questions related to talent development centers. If you are interested, you can still get in touch with us. And please follow us on our socials. Next set of webinar with the experts. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.